You know Hazrat Abu Hurayra radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. You know what he was and how he lived. For the sake of making up for the lost time, because he accepted Islam very late, for the sake of making up the lost time, he decided to live in the mosque and never to leave it, except for the calls of nature and things. He abandoned all work. And the love which he had in his heart for Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and whatever he said made him transfixed into the mosque, completely rooted there. So he couldn't earn anything. He didn't have time to go out. So he kept suffering from hunger. Sometimes continuously for days he would live on empty stomach. Sometimes he would swoon because of hunger. And people would think that this Abu Hurayra is epileptic. And when some Arabs in those days suffered from an attack of epilepsy, they sometimes made him smell the old dirty shoes. They thought that would bring him back to life. And sometimes they even beat him with shoes. So this is what they did to Abu Hurayra, because he was shy of asking, begging from others. He must have determined that from now on I'll only beg from Allah, I will not extend my hand to anyone else. So he kept suffering in hunger and quiet until one day he could not take it anymore. But still he did not beg. How clever he was in this, even in ultimate hunger. He decided to ask those of the companions of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who generally frequented the mosque, came more often than others. So it is reported, in the story, in these tales, sometimes the names of Khulafa are given in order. So I think that's decoration, because it normally doesn't happen, But anyway, many big names are mentioned. They came one after the other into the mosque. And he addressed them, he said, can you teach me the tafsir of this verse? وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. Or it was the second verse. Some reports, I think, if I'm not mistaken, quote the second verse, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَىٰ حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا. So either way the message was the same. I think it was the second verse perhaps. But anyway, both verses speak of the same thing. وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. They sacrifice for the sake of others and feed them or help them, although they are themselves tight-fisted, not tight-fisted, but short of things. They themselves are needy. In the second verse, يُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَىٰ حُبِّهِ. Here is a beautiful verse which can be turned with a new meaning added into it, and turned in another direction with another meaning. Some people translate it as for Allah hubbihi, that is for the sake of Allah, for the love of Allah. Based on their love of Allah, yutimuna ta'ama. And also some others translate it as despite the fact that they are so hungry that they fall in love with food, yet they feed the needy, the hungry, those in prison, etc., etc. And he thought they would understand the message, but they said, all right, Abu Hurayra, we tell you the tafsir, and they took some time in teaching him the meaning. And whenever they went away, he said, as if I didn't know, they know the Quran better than I. Until Rasulullah Sallam came out. sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, Abu Hurayra, what are you asking? Ask me. He said, Ya Rasulullah, this is the verse, I want the meaning of this verse, what it means. He said, Abu Hurayra, you are hungry, aren't you? God has sent me a bowl full of milk. So he was very happy, Alhamdulillah, I'm going to drink that milk. So instead of asking him to come into the house and have the share the milk, he said, but there would be other hungry people weren't there. So why don't you go out and speak loud, call at the loudest of your voice. Whoever is hungry, who is needy, whoever is this and who is that, may come and join us. That made his heart sink. He said, gosh, only one cup of milk. And Rasulullah is saying, but this was his love for him which made him transfixed to the mosque. So he would never disobey. He went and shouted. And some, not only one or two, but quite a few, joined him and said, yes, we are hungry, come on. And he led the procession back to Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Said, here they are. Said, all right, be seated. And he asked someone to sit on his right. It was not Abu Hurayra. He asked another person to sit on his right. That was not Abu Hurayra. Until all finished and Abu Hurayra was left, and he seated him on his left. But that was another ominous sign for Abu Hurayra. He knew Rasulullah would always start distributing things from his right. And there was one cup of milk and quite a few hungry people starting from the right. What would be left for a third or fourth person even? But as far as Abu Hurayra is concerned, he had written it off. He said, all right, no milk for me. But he reports himself. He said, strange things happened that day. Rasulullah gave it to one person. He drank it to his full. And the Rasulullah said, drink some more. I said, one thing which didn't please me was that drink some more. You know? So what's happening? God, he's so generous. So it happened to the same second person and to the third and to the fourth, and the milk wouldn't finish until it reached Abu Hurayra. And then Rasulullah smiled at him and said, with meaningful smile, Abu Hurayra, drink this milk. And he drank and drank and drank, but the bowl would not be emptied. Until Rasulullah said, drink more, I'm telling you. He said, I drank so much until I said, oh Prophet of Allah, I have reached a stage where the milk will spring out of my nails and feet and fingers. I'm so full. So then he said, all right, and took the bowl and drank at the end himself. Now this was a miracle indeed, but a miracle which is so potent with wisdom and so depictive of what the verse meant. That shows Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew the meaning of the Quran like none else in the world could. No one who attempted to have a tafsir of this verse could have done this better. It's impossible. Yusiruna ala anfusihim yuti'una ta'ama ala hubbihi. That is the tafsir he wanted to know. And Rasulullah said, all right, sit in the end. Then you will see what it means. You have fallen, you have reached a state of hunger where you have really madly fallen in love with food. And yet I am asking you to sit on the left and wait for these people, to sacrifice for their sake your own comfort. So what a beautiful way of teaching, and also it gave the message, if you do it really in life, then Allah will never leave you penniless or a pauper or without or a needy. He would take care of your requirements. He would see to it that your wealth never ends. This was the second message in it. And the third one, that Allah will give so much blessing to the very small possessions of yours. That Allah knows how to do it, that your possessions will not end. Instead, that one meaning is that He will give more and more. This is a different type. This is a different understanding of this. That even if you have small things, they will never finish. And we have seen this happen many a time, that even small foods are made by Allah so blessed that a large number of guests partake of them and eat plentiful, and the food somehow doesn't finish. And if there are some greedy people, then even the big food finishes and some people are left hungry. So this was the seed, and the last point was that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself was the hungriest of all. That is why he kept himself at the end. Now this is Abu Hurayra.